One of the chapters in my book talks a lot about what to do when your customer ghosts you, because it happens all the time. All the time. It's largely not something you've done wrong. And it doesn't mean your customer's saying no. What it means is they're busy, they're sick, they're on holiday, they lost your business card, their computers died. Like, there's a million and one reasons why people don't get back to you. But this is where it's important to then become a little bit inventive and not just rely on only one communication style. And I think that's where it comes down to understanding your customer. What's going to be the best way for you to progress a conversation, to move them closer to saying a yes? That largely starts with, how do they prefer to communicate? You can ask them straight out, do you want to be contacted by phone or whatever? But I often find in those circumstances, you have to keep trying until you find the one that lands, and don't just assume that they're not interested.
You're listening to the Sales Today podcast, and I'm your host, Fred Copestake. On this podcast, we explore how sales professionals can develop a more modern approach to selling, the application of virtual and hybrid selling techniques, how to create meaningful business relationships, and much more. And welcome to this episode of the Sales Today podcast, where I'm delighted to be joined by Brittany Baldwin. Hi, Brittany.
Hello, lovely to be here, Fred. Thanks for having me on board.
Well, no, it's a pleasure. So Brittany is the founder of TikTok Sales. And so, Brittany, you just give me the easiest first question into a podcast ever. What's TikTok Sales? Tell me about it.
Yeah, I came off the back of a very successful sales career, and when it came time to start my own business, I thought, I'm going to do something really smart here and interview potential customers so that I could make sure the content I was putting out there was super relevant. And my research from my interview questions led me to understand that there were three things that people wanted more of. They wanted more time, they wanted more money, and they wanted more happiness. Now, I can help with the first two. Happiness is a whole new agenda for people to get some help from. But I realized that time and money were a correlation, and I think that people in business need to recognize that time forms such a critical part of being successful in business and in life. So I often say that you could be the best salesperson in the world, but if you don't have any time, you won't make any sales. So it started off as a TikTok play on words, clocks, everything like that. But it's of course, as the business has grown, developed over time. But that is how the name came about, well and truly before the TikTok app was really popular. And now people just think I teach others how to sell on TikTok.
And I was going to bring that up because I was looking at your profile on LinkedIn, and this is nearly 4 years old now, isn't it?
Yeah.
But of course, everyone's talking about TikTok now. And it's like, oh, can you teach me how to do little 15-second videos? What? No.
I don't have TikTok. I find it hard enough to get on LinkedIn and Facebook and keep up to date with a lot of content, and I'm very good at getting it out there, but too many mediums is just making life too hard. So I'm a non-TikToker. There's
my scoop. Founder of TikTok Sales does not have TikTok. Why? Because she's got better things.
Still make sales without it.
No, because she's got better things to do with her time. That's and that is the point, isn't it? It is our most valuable resource. I mean, I've heard it said that money, actually you can get that from other people, but time you can't. And that's the one we have to look after, isn't it?
Yeah, you can never get it back once that resource is gone. So I think as well, when people start talking, unrelated to sales, but when it comes to time, people often say to me, I'm really busy, I have no time. And it's often, everyone has the same hours in the day. There are so many people out there who do a lot with their time. So it's not that they don't have time, it's they don't prioritize their time. And I think once you view it from that perspective, it really changes your approach to your work, to your daily life as well.
It is, and I guess, I mean, if you can kind of go into a bit more detail of how you help people prioritize, it'd be really useful. I mean, I've got a way that I do it, so hey, this could be a massive learning learning curve for me here.
There's so many different ways out there that are traditional time-saving techniques. You can Google them. There's a heap out there. I teach it more from a sales perspective. So how to prospect in the best way, how to make sure that you don't spend too much time with the wrong prospects, etc. But my all-time favorite thing, and I use it every single day, is what's called the 5 by 5. So that is your 5 most important tasks to achieve by 5 p.m. We all have to do, or whatever time you finish work for the day, but we all have like to-do lists that are a mile long. And by human nature, we go for the easiest ones. We go for the ones that are, that are going to be completed the quickest. And from that to-do list, we often struggle to prioritize the most important. So having 5 key tasks to complete for the day allows you to prioritize what you're going to achieve in that day in the order of priority. It doesn't mean you only do 5 tasks. It just means you do the 5 most important ones first. I live and swear by the 5 by 5. So if anyone wants, I've got a little resource. If you reach out to Fred or myself, you can get a copy of it for sure.
Oh, right. That's going in show notes if that's okay.
Absolutely.
Oh, happy day.
Absolutely.
But you're right there, and I do kind of know this stuff, but I still catch myself with my list knocking off the easy ones, because I like crossing things off lists, or like on the task boards where it flutters off into the distance. Yeah, all the fun stuff,
But you know what?
and I do it, and I
also
know I'm doing it.
Yeah, we have to prioritize income producing activities as well, because we can get so caught up in the administrative side of our businesses as well. So as a general rule, prioritize income producing activities, or make sure it's at least on your agenda every day.
And so go back to what you're saying, the 555, the most important, this is how you're starting to define important. Yeah, it's the impact on income. Is that correct? Have I read that right?
That's one of the things as well. Or, if you've got deadlines to achieve, or if it's going to further or grow your business in a more substantial way than something that may not have such a big impact, then that's what I would deem a priority. But everybody's version of priority will be completely different too.
And you're using this to focus on that impact piece, growing the business, increasing your sales, whatever is the important thing, to help you get over the fact that when you look at the list and go, that's hard, that's going to be a tricky thing to do. That's probably not the greatest fun thing. Is that fair? Yeah.
I think so. But hey, it all boils down to your goals for your business, what you're trying to achieve. I have monthly goals rather than annual goals, because that way I know that I've only got to do it for 30 days. So if I'm prospecting, maybe I'll go really hard on social media for 1 month. It would be silly of me to say I'm going to post every single day for the rest of the year, because that may be unachievable. That may be outside of our capabilities. So I like to make my goals a little bit smaller and more achievable, so that I know I can complete them. And I think that's another approach to anything you're doing in life or in business, to break things down onto a much smaller scale. It helps mentally as much as anything.
And do you think that helps you do stuff with more intensity? Because right, it's 30 days. I'm on it. I'm on it for 30. We're smashing this.
The countdown is much smaller. Like if you were dieting, it's much easier to diet for 30 days than say, like, I'm going to lose 10 kilos and God knows how long that'll take me. So breaking it down into smaller chunks works for me. And I've had some success with some other clients as well. But again, everybody's different.
Yeah. And is that you see so many different things, don't you? It's 20 days to form a habit, it's 15, it's 30. I mean, 30 is a kind of a magic number, is it, that you can actually then start to develop the habit from doing that?
Well, I like new month, new day, new me kind of, approach. So like, it's the first of the month, let's get excited. That's something that really spurs me on and motivates me. I'm a big first day of the month type person. So diets start on Monday. I don't know. I start on the 1st. So
what you like on New Year's Day?
Oh, you should see me. I'm not a big party girl. So like, I'm like up really early in the morning. It's usually like, I find myself at the beach or somewhere where I can really sort of settle into I do goals at the start of the year. So for example, this year I have 22 intentions for for 2022. In 2020, my number one goal, the first thing on the list, was to write a book. And of course, that was the year of COVID. So I was like, how am I ever going to find the time to write a book? And then we went into lockdown. It was like the universe sent me some sort of sign. If you're ever going to write a book, now's the time. So I was very successful in getting my book out, as part of my goals that I set for the year, but also, thanks to, I guess, some habits or some circumstances that were completely outside of my control.
Yeah, all 700 pages of it, because you hadn't got anything else to go and do.
I again, targets, I'm going to write 1 chapter per day. So, it was really, again, small instructions. So you can see I like goals.
I'm picturing this on your wall, this kind of a whole big year planner broken down into hours to minutes to everything to get you super, super productive.
Yeah, well, like I said, it works for me. It's not going to be everybody else's cup of tea, but I think the lesson here is to have a level of accountability, to have a level of consistency, because it's those small steps that you take each day that add up to the big results. And I think finding your groove, but whatever approach you are going to undertake, make sure that you're consistent and take action for that every day is always going to make you, or bring you, 1 step closer to where you want to be.
So if people are listening to this and not watching it, they will have not seen my jaw drop when you said you did a chapter a day. I mean, that is pretty cool. That's very cool, actually.
Thank you.
I wrote my second book in lockdown as well, and I wasn't doing a chapter a day. I think one day was 400 words. Whoa, go me.
You know what? I did things like, I made sure that I actually asked my husband to sit next to me at the table so he could watch my screen and check if I was procrastinating or looking up websites that maybe I shouldn't be in instead of writing my book. So I had a buddy system that kept me on track as well, because I know that when it's hard, and writing a book is not easy, you want to procrastinate or you want to get distracted. So that was my solution, was to have a buddy to look over my shoulder and say, get back on track, you made a promise.
I do hope he gets plenty of credit in the book.
He does all the time. But the other thing I did, I actually announced the launch date of my book to the world as well. So I reverse engineered it back, and I said, if I don't do this, it'll never be ready for my launch party. So again, that was another level of accountability that I had to commit to.
This is accountability on steroids. This is. It's amazing.
I'll take it as a compliment, but
no, please do.
It's my lane. That's my lane. I'm an organized person, and traditionally, for the people who are listening in, salespeople are maybe not that way inclined. So that's when I talk about finding a system that suits you, that you will be able to commit to. Because if you go too hard, too fast on something that isn't the right approach for you, then you're never going to fulfill it, because it's hard, it won't work, you don't like it. So find what you're good at and commit to that.
Yeah, and the buddy system is a pretty good one for salespeople, actually, isn't it? Because you can find the buddy who's right for you, and you can nudge each other on, you can each other on. Yeah, and if it's not a salesperson, it's even actually, rather than just the accountability, you can actually share technique and share best practice, can't you?
Correct.
That's cool. Thinking about this book you wrote in lockdown, then, and this is what we were chatting just before I hit record. So it'd be interesting to explore this a little bit. When you were thinking, right, I'm going to write the book, you'd obviously got the plan. You think, right, I know what I'm going to say. Because COVID was in full swing, I don't know the best way to describe it, did that start to change what you wrote about, or how has that affected sales, I guess, is the question I'm asking.
In hindsight, no. COVID wasn't in Australia. It didn't really hit us super hard. So it wasn't like a really big deal when I started writing. It was very, 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 very early on, and I'd already had my plan in place. I think the biggest lesson I learned during COVID in that first year was how much people craved human connection. They were in lockdown, they were in isolation, and the idea of picking up your phone and making a call to a customer, heaven forbid, was like, it's gone out of fashion to get on the phone. Everyone's hiding behind their keyboards and their messaging services. So I found that being able to do things like follow-up calls, I've never had such a success rate in getting people to answer the phone, because they were at home doing nothing. And they also were more than happy to have conversations. So I think in one respect, that was probably a big shift that I saw in how business was run. I think that was one of the more immediate changes that I've seen in the sales world. But as we get on the other side of COVID a little bit, and we're moving to, I guess, recovery, one of the things I'm really noticing is that I think during COVID, people were worried about pushing their product or their service on people who were vulnerable. There was so much uncertainty out there. People had no money, they didn't have job security. No one knew how long COVID was going to go for, and the fact that it's still going is astronomical. So there was this hesitancy, I guess, for people to sell to the vulnerable. So I've actually seen a shift in people now reassessing what sales means and understanding that it's more about having a conversation with somebody, seeing if there are opportunities to connect, finding a bit more out about their circumstances, rather than going in for such a heavy, discovery close type approach. So I think it's really opened up this wonderful world of relationship building, which has always been the foundation of sales, but may have been largely overlooked for some time. So I think that connection side of things with customers has really become more important than it has been in the past.
Yeah, and I wonder if part of that is that during that time we were doing calls and we're getting on video and stuff as well with people, and they're sat in the kitchen, and then the kids are running around in the background, and then you say you got a dog and he's off the barking or whatever. Sometimes my cat would walk across the screen.
People are so much more accepting
that was
of that
cool.
now.
It was cool. You get to know the person a little bit better. And I still can't understand why some people are pushing still against using video, saying because you can't build a relationship. But you can. You're talking to somebody in their house more often
saved
than
so
not.
much time. I used to let's catch up for a coffee. Oh, by the time I got ready and drove there and had coffee and came home, and they maybe weren't qualified. The rise and rise of Zoom has been such a godsend for business. I wish I invested in Zoom shares way back. I was using Zoom before Zoom was popular. I think that, I've got clients all over the world because of that. I've been able to reach people in so many different countries, and that would never have been possible without this I guess pivot to business thanks to COVID.
Yeah, and people are more accepting of using it, for meetings, for training, for all sorts of things. It's just that's kind of how we do stuff. But going back to, I was just writing some things down, as you can see, when you talk about people being vulnerable, and good salespeople thinking, I don't want to exploit this. One of the things I found, I'd be interested to know your opinion on this, is that the good salespeople, though, got that actually we need to explore this, because these people are in the same situation as us, where at the time, none of us really know what was going on. It's like, well, how can we help people make sense of a situation? And for me, that's how sales was shifting anyway. I think it's sped it up, hasn't it? Salespeople are sense makers. So how can salespeople do that better, do you think?
I think it's about understanding your customer first, and what motivates them to take action. So one of the chapters in my book talks a lot about what to do when your customer ghosts you, because it happens all the time. It's largely not something you've done wrong. And it doesn't mean your customer's saying no. What it means is they're busy, they're sick, they're on holiday, they lost your business card, their computers died. There's a million and one reasons why people don't get back to you. But this is where it's important to then become a little bit inventive and not just rely on only one communication style. And I think that's where it comes down to understanding your customer. what's going to be the best way for you to progress a conversation, to move them closer to saying a yes? That largely starts with, how do they prefer to communicate? You can ask them straight out, do you want to be contacted by phone or whatever? But I often find in those circumstances, you have to keep trying until you find the one that lands, and don't just assume that they're not interested. And I think that's understanding people and understanding industries and understanding that follow-up isn't a bad thing if you've already sort of, I guess, educated your clients that you are going to stay connected and follow up.
Yeah, actually, that's a brilliant piece of advice, is ask them what's their preferred method. Just because we're talking on this method first up, what's the best way for you? Oh, WhatsApp, really? Now for me, that's like, oh, WhatsApp seems very, very personal, but some people love it, Would you like me to drop? And then, as you say, give them the shopping list. So you have to be comfortable with these: your phone, email, video, WhatsApp, voice notes.
There's
TikTok.
so many.
Oh no, not TikTok. We're not on TikTok.
No. But it used to be that your only options were you ring them on the phone or you meet them in person.
Yeah.
And now, like, the floodgates have opened with the number of different ways you can communicate with people. So vary it up, change it up.
Yeah, but and as you say, the right thing for them.
Them.
It's cool.
Yeah.
What about video in sales? Now, I'm asking this because I was looking at your LinkedIn post today where you were showing the first one I ever did. That actually was pretty cool, to be fair. I mean, I know it's better now. But
do you know how that came about? I'm running out of iPhone storage, so I was like, I need to delete some old stuff on my phone, and I learned this new skill. I wasn't aware of it, but on your iPhone, there's it stores videos and photos that you've sent in text messages. So when I was going through the list of videos that I'd sent across in text messages, I'd sent that one to my husband as a little, like, what do you think? And it was the biggest. I was like, this is the first one I need to get rid of because it's taking up the most storage in my phone. I was like, before I delete it, I'm going to post it on my social media to show people how far you can come. It's so funny. It starts and I'm like,
it does.
I didn't edit out that first bit where I'm taking really heavy breaths because I'm stressed and nervous, but I used it as an educational tool to say it's okay to be stressed and nervous. Get out there, do it. You've got so much value to share. So don't shy away from video. If that's how your customers consume content, do some video, and the more you do it, I promise you get better, you get more comfortable, you get more confident, and you get to share your message in another way for people to take that on board. Because the social media platforms, they like photo, they like video, some favor videos. So it's my recommendation for you to get a bit comfortable with doing video. I actually do video messaging in LinkedIn as well. So rather than typing something out, I'm a big fan of audio. But if I'm all made up and looking good, I'll chuck in a video message.
But I think the point you're making though is it doesn't have to be perfect.
Mm-hmm.
And I wonder even if the fact that it isn't perfect is more human. And if you stutter, it's like, as long as it's not a massive I don't even know what I'm saying. But if it's like a quick that's what you would be doing in real life. And of course, that's the power of video, isn't it? That we are connecting.
I mean, perfectionist, like I am the epitome of perfectionist, and I have had to learn so hard, and I practice it every day. Progress is better than perfection. I remember watching people when I was thinking about doing my business and planning how I was going to launch. I remember watching all these people's videos going, oh, that's so bad. Or like their slides show presentations like, there's a spelling mistake there, or those colors don't match, or whatever. I'll be able to do it so much better. But what I realized, and it took me a while, I realized that whilst I was sitting here criticizing and critiquing and coming up with ways to make mine the best, they were out there doing it. They were out there sharing their value and having an impact and earning money, and I was not. So that was a pretty powerful motivator. Get it started so that you can have a successful business and put some cash in the bank. So I practice it regularly because I do fall into the perfectionist category. So I do just say, you know what, my idea of pretty average is somebody else's idea of excellent. So just get it out there.
No, it's again great advice. I mean, the phrase I use is prolific, not perfect. I'd prefer to have loads and loads of stuff out there. Yeah, I borrowed it. Borrowed it from somebody who learned it.
Smarter people than us.
Yeah, but I love it, the fact that, you know, you talk about TikTok, you talk about the sales, the time, your most valuable thing, and there you are, like, not putting anything out, the clock is ticking, and you're going, hang on a minute, what do I teach here?
Do you have any idea how many takes of those videos I did to get that one where I was breathing heavy? I don't know, like 20 times. I was like, this is a waste of time, but I'm not putting it out there until it's good. So now I might do it once or twice. There's certain things that you want to be great, but now I'm just like, get it out there, moving on to the next task, because who has time for 20 takes?
Yeah, does it do the job it's intended? Okay, yes, it does. Happy days. Yeah, no, that's cool. That's cool. It is a tough one though, isn't it? I mean, I know we're sort of sat here saying people do it. They're probably going, yeah, it's easy for you. You guys are putting it out all the time. But, big boy pants on, big girl pants on, and just look down the camera and do it. If you're sending it to somebody, this is what I think. If you're sending it to somebody who receives video regularly, or who produces video, does their own, they're going to go, fair play to you. That's not easy. If it's someone who doesn't, they're going to think, oh, God, they're brave sending that.
I know.
I don't think you can lose. I honestly don't think you can lose.
When I do audio messages, I reckon 90% of the people who actually respond to an audio message to me start by saying, wow, loved your audio message. That's so different. Haven't heard that done before. And I don't know for the people who are listening, whether that's something that, is prevalent in your country or in your industry or whatnot. But I find a lot of people aren't using things like audio messages. So their feedback to me is like, wow, you stand out. You can convey personality that, a text message otherwise doesn't. But, audio message is I guess that happy medium where you don't have to be judged on what you're doing or where you are or what you look like. It's just, as long as it's clear and quiet, it's such a powerful tool.
And it's probably a bit how long's a piece of string, but for your audio messages, do you kind of have a formula? Do you have a structure to make sure they land properly? Because we're talking, these need to be 60 seconds max normally.
Yeah. My favorite strategy for sending messages is to make sure that I always finish with a question. Okay. And the reason I finish with a question is that incentivizes people to respond with an answer. Right. Because again, people are busy. They've got other priorities. They might read the message and forget to reply. They don't reply, because they don't like what you have to say. There's a million and one reasons why they don't reply. But I feel as though finishing with a question makes them go, I'm going to be rude if I don't respond to this. So don't just leave it open and like, hi, great to be connected, kind of stuff. Move the conversation forward. Now, it can be generic, it can be really specific. It depends on who you're prospecting to, or if you're just starting to build connections, whatever your outcome is. But that's sort of my winning strategy. Finish with a question.
No, that's cool. And so just listening to what you're saying there, you're using these very much as part of your prospecting strategy. Yeah, connect with somebody, send them a message, thanks for connecting, a piece of value, and then finish with a question. You're beginning with that end in mind.
Yeah, I don't even necessarily start with value. It's more of like they're all so different, but I move into the value side of things. But I ask them in a way that sort of my intention is to not come across as I'm going to sell you something. So I often ask them something like, I'm researching for my new book and I'd love to know, what do you think is the most important thing when it comes to sales? So it's nothing about them. It's nothing about my business. They're helping me out by, assisting me with research. So again, they're not already going like, oh, she's trying to sell me something. And then that leads to conversations. But, it could be something like, I don't know, hey, Fred, great to be connected. I saw you had a heat wave over in London. Do you know what I mean? Like,
are you still alive?
Still alive. So I like to make sure that the question is moving a conversation forward. It's not just general chit chat, but not like, I help people with their sales. Is that something you're interested in?
So it's not a kind of elevator pitch or whatever. It's
not at all.
And you're prospecting pretty senior people. It's business leaders, it's sales managers broadly. They love being asked their opinions, don't they? I'm researching on what's your opinion on.
Yeah, they love to talk. So but again, the success rate is not a the response rate is not huge, because people often have many different reasons for not replying. So it's one of many different strategies, I guess. But the point I'm making is stand out from the crowd, do an audio message, and freaking don't prospect straight at people. I get people like, I help you how to sell, and I'm like, read my profile. I also do that.
Do you know when I get those? I don't know whether it's just somebody who's doing their job really badly, or whether I should be really offended because they're looking at what I'm doing. I'm thinking, mate, you need help.
I've got the most. Okay, so I have a rule that I try to respond to 100% of my messages, no matter how many I get, because I would hope that people are doing the same back to me. So my standard response for people that I, are trying to sell me something and come out with a pitch is, it's not something that I'm looking for, but if I come across somebody who will be the right fit for you, I'll send them your way. So it's a nicer way of saying, no, thank you. I'll help you if I can.
Yeah. No, I like that. That's elegant. I don't want
to reply to people, it's the right thing to do. They're trying, whether or not it's of interest to you, or the way, I wouldn't go like, hey, I teach you how to sell, so that message is really stupid. I'm not interested in doing anything like that, but I do reply. If there's anyone listening who sent me a message and I haven't replied, it's for one of those reasons, like I read it and got distracted, and it's not because I'm rude. I'm so sorry.
Quick disclaimer. So you're not as childish as me. And I've never sent this, but I have actually written it. And one day I will, because I know my people, you sometimes get the message and people have kind of took a bit of the advice, but are applying it wrongly. So that I've kind of heard ask a question and try to be curious about people. And so I get on LinkedIn, I'm curious, what do you do? You feel like, mate,
questions to answer.
Is my profile that bad? If it is, go and look at the over 400 hours of stuff on YouTube. If that's not good enough for you, go buy one of my 2 books. If that's not good enough for you. But then I think, maybe I am just bad at messaging. I don't know.
No, it's the worst. Sometimes I get really stupid. I'm like, I teach people how to sell. If that wasn't obvious. They're trying. I get it. They're trying. It's what they've been told to do.
Yeah.
But it's not my favorite one to receive, and I switch off pretty quickly to great to be connected. Have a good day.
Yeah, and that's why I've never actually said that. But I mean, you are asked, particularly on LinkedIn, you are asking on a platform where I've spent a bit of time and effort. It might not look like it, but I spent a bit of time and effort to try to create a shop window as to look, that's what I do. Oh no, it's funny. Oh, cool.
People who are trying.
And that is it. That's probably why I don't go all completely childish and stroppy about it. No, sorry. This feels like I'm confessional here. I did actually. Somebody sent me that connect and pitch thing where it was. I think it was for financial services or something like. Yeah, I'm gonna sack my accountant just because you've connected with me. So I found the head of people, connected with her, and sent a connect and pitch using exactly the same. I just basically cut and pasted what their people were sending, because I had 2 from them. Cut and pasted exactly the same, but swapped out whatever for sales and sent it. And then a day later sent a video saying, look, I know that was rubbish, but this is what your people are doing. Now it could be you're not aware. If so, we can chat. Or you do know that what you're doing, and now they don't even responded. So it just made me feel it made me feel better. It made me feel a bit better. I don't even know if
got that off your chest. Thanks for sharing.
Well, you know what I mean. I thought it feels like professional. Oh, it's not all about me, this podcast anyway. So God, that time, my goodness, time flies when we're having fun. We talked about TikTok sales, what it means, the time. Time is your most valuable asset. We talked about, what else we talked about? Oh, God, there's so many notes here. We talked about how you're breaking down goals, accountability. We're talking about standing out, so starting to use different media. Tell you what, good old sales question here, or not. What else should I have asked you about? So lazy.
Whose podcast is this, Fred? Look, I really, what's the most important thing when it comes to sales? Like that honestly is, I'm going to answer it by saying that follow-up is the most important thing when it comes to sales. And there's so much in the world of follow-up that I could share. But what I find is happening is that once business owners or salespeople get a lead and they don't quite know what to say to them, it doesn't convert. They don't get the deal over the line. They don't get the money. So they start looking for the next lead. And then they don't know how to speak to them. It doesn't convert. They don't get money. So they look for the next lead. And they start building up this idea that their leads are bad. Yeah. And I'm here to tell people that it's not their leads. It's their ability to convert those leads. Mm-hmm. So when everybody's off chasing new leads, spending money on advertising, prospecting their little hearts out, what they have is they have a database. They have people they've already been in contact with. They have people who have already expressed a level of interest in their product, in their service. But for whatever reason, those people haven't yet said yes. So I believe that we should refocus our time and energy and effort on reconnecting and retargeting our existing customers as a priority over chasing new ones. Look after the ones you've already got and do a better job. And if you need help with learning how to do a better job, then absolutely that's the right way to go. But the database, my book is called Database to Dollars. Like, convert your database and it will earn you money through effective follow-up. Follow-up. That is the core message for me to share with people about sales. Don't give up on them because they haven't yet said yes. Have a better strategy or system in place to keep them engaged, to keep them connected, to keep them moving closer to saying yes or no. No is also good. No is fine. No is great, as long as you get to that no faster rather than waiting for them to stuff you around for a long time as well.
That is so cool. That's a brilliant summary. So database to dollars, database to dollars, database in Australia.
But I'm just going to stop you right there. I am going to do something really silly and just reach over and grab my laptop charger because I can see this coming to a very abrupt end. Give me 2 ticks.
We've got the best stuff in the can.
You got the best. There we go. This is so unprofessional, but I've noticed it ticking down. I'm like, oh, okay, database dollars, yes.
It's real. It's human. It's what happens, So database dollars. We can pop a link to that into the show notes as well.
Yes, please. Here it is. Woohoo!
There we go. No, you weren't getting the charger. You were getting the book.
No, I already had the book. Next to me. So
it's always there. It's always there.
Yeah. You can download it for free from my website. This is what I want people to take away with them. So that's my priority, is for everybody out there to get some really great valuable content, and it's the step-by-step approach, I guess, to your follow-up strategy. But Fred will put the link in the notes for this. It's tiktokSales.com.au/book. But again, Fred will put the link in. Definitely get a copy. It's full of lots of little golden nuggets in there.
That's what we want. Applicable stuff that we can take from it. And best way for people to get in contact with you?
Social media. Hopefully I reply to your message because I've said I would.
Please,
send me an
everyone,
email.
messenger.
Please don't overwhelm my inbox. But yeah, no, there's a number of different ways: email, social media. If you're in Australia, give me a call. If you're not in Australia, give me a call. But I welcome the opportunity to speak to anybody who I can share some valuable tips with, and always looking for feedback on my content as well. Want it to be super valuable to anybody who's consuming it.
No, brilliant. Well, you've been super valuable on this. Good fun. And we covered a lot of stuff. There's lots of good stuff in here. So I do hope people go and grab more of that book.
Thank you very much.
Nah, thank you for coming on.
Bye for now.
You've been listening to the Sales Today podcast with me, your host, Fred Copestake. If you like what you've heard, why not subscribe so you know when the latest episodes become available? Take a look at my YouTube channel. All episodes are available there, along with extra material all about modern selling. Connect with me on LinkedIn, where I'll share more information around collaborative selling. All part of my mission around having good people doing good things in a good way.